All right, good morning. We're the University of Queensland team. As we've heard over the past couple of days, there are many consumers in Australia who would benefit from switching credit cards. But simply knowing that there is a better card isn't often enough to make a switch. The consumer data rights coming out soon will allow people very easy access to their data, which they could use with a comparison site to better identify the best financial product for them. But to make this work, we need to overcome a couple of behavioural hurdles to get there. First of all, consumers are present bias. We display inertia. We don't want to incur the current cost, both cognitive and effort, of making a switch when we heavily discount the future benefits of making that switch. Secondly, every day we're reminded and made salient of data breaches and lack of privacy. Combined with the representative heuristic and availability bias, we have learnt to distrust platforms that ask for our data. So today, we're going to present a package of nudges or behavioural interventions to guide people through a process where they end up making a good decision to switch. The initial phase of learning is a pre-contemplation phase. This is where they're becoming aware of their consumer data rights, how it works, and also aware of the verification process for comparison websites. The purpose of this is to lay the mental models and prepare consumers to successfully navigate the rest of the process. The second part is that engagement, is where they engage with the comparison website. They make informed decisions about sharing and use that to select the best financial product for them. The third phase, the completion, is arguably the most important phase that we need to get to, is where the consumer makes that active decision to actually switch credit cards. And now I'll hand over to my team to go through it.
Alrighty, so we want to help people overcome the availability and representativeness biases that they're prone to. We believe that this role falls upon the government and the comparison websites themselves. The role for the government here is to use people's natural deference to authority through existing advertising portals and things like MyGov, with the ultimate aim of helping consumers to understand and want to use their new rights.
The role for the private sector here is to actually get people coming to the comparison websites and understanding the benefit for them. And again, we can use behavioural insights here, such as appealing to salient facts, appealing to fairness, and establishing social norms surrounding the sharing of data. The bottom line is that by the time the consumer gets to the website, they already have a basic understanding of what data means and how it can be used. When you do get to that website, we envision that the flow of the website will look something like this. So the first page, right off the bat, we want to make an active choice about whether we want to use our data. And this, we believe, will nudge people into using their System 2 processes throughout the rest of the process. Then once you say, yes, I want to share my data, then you get to a privacy statement summary page.
Yeah, so if I was to be a responsible consumer, I would spend 3% of my life reading the privacy documents of every new website I went to, assuming I could understand the complex terms they use. To combat this, we propose that the government mandate that this information be distilled to 3 key points which just contain the key crucial elements. To ensure people are engaged in this, we propose asking a consent confirmation question of consumers after they've read these points to ensure engagement.
Of course, we'd have the full terms and conditions available upon clicking on any of these 3 points as well. What we want to do here is simultaneously nudge people into using their System 2 processes again by unbundling those consents and also proposing a question which people have to answer, priming them to think about their response. But simultaneously, we want to prevent information overload and induce some level of cognitive ease through having simple bits of information and only 3 of them. The default level of data sharing we'd start with is the minimum to reflect consumers' desires for increased privacy. If people answer their confirmation question wrong at the very end there, then they'll just be redirected back to the relevant section of that privacy statement and asked to make sure that they understand. If they get it right, then they proceed to a comparison of their results.
Now, if we were to present our consumer with every credit card available to them and compared them on every one of a wide range of characteristics, it would be subject to choice overload and information overload, and it'd be there forever. To combat this, we propose just presenting the top results and just comparing them on one dimension, which is the total amount that that credit card has cost you, just the fees and interest you've paid. The option to see more results or get more information is always there for more information-savvy consumers.
It's important to respect the integrity of the comparison site's choice, so we'd mandate that you can't pay to have your product listed preferentially on a site like this. The final stage of this process is to actually get the consumer to carry out the action which they intend to do, which is switch to that desired credit card. And we believe there's space for the government to facilitate that switch by allowing the comparison sites to initiate the process and tell, for example, Westpac to send me through information tomorrow. And what this does is it brings both the costs and benefits of switching into the future, where they are weighted equally, overcoming present bias.
Now, once right access is included in the consumer data right, we see potential for these comparison sites to actually facilitate the switch themselves, taking all the costs of switching away from the consumer themselves. Until then, we will have to rely on email and SMS reminders to help people engage with the switch when they have more time.
Now we've seen what our framework looks like, we need to understand how this translates into implementation. First of all, we suggest that the government's role is to set up some regulations early on and let the commercial providers do most of the work. This minimises the cost of government as it uses existing infrastructure. Our process lends itself nicely to randomised controlled trials, for example, randomising across the number of reminders people get. This allows measures of effectiveness to be established and allows evaluation of policy success. We should consider also how the market's likely to respond. Recall our default was a lowest net cost using interest and fees. We see competition increasing across this dimension, which is going to increase consumer welfare as our assessed likely response. And as the consumer data right rolls out across other products and sectors, we see our framework being adaptable to incorporate other financial products as well as other sectors such as telecommunications and energy. And regarding commercial viability, we see there's plenty of opportunities for commercial providers to provide value to consumers, which allows them to become independently profitable and can scale up without government assistance. So to summarise our interventions, we suggest simple policy summaries combined with a consent confirmation question to ensure people are making active, informed choices. Our use of defaults are welfare enhancing, and our assisted switching reduces the cost and allows people to make a switch when their cost is minimalised. Together, these are nudging customers to use their data to make better choices. Thank you for your time.
Okay, just hand it to me. I do have a question to ask though. So thank you very much for the presentation. I quite like the consent confirmation question and that element. I have a concern on the way that you're saying the comparison is being presented. Yep. So I understand the need to simplify because it makes it easier for people. But do you think that everybody would want to have just the cost? And I wonder if there are people who might actually not care as much about the cost, but rather care about another elements. Have you thought about?
Absolutely. So this is the default. We figured the people who need the most help are the ones likely paying the most in fees and interest. So that's why the default is servicing that sector of the market where the most social good can occur. We've added more features. So if you care about your travel insurance or your points, this is something that as a more sophisticated consumer, you can absolutely personalised to you. This is the default, so you have to choose a default, and this is the best social good.
Of course. Is there anything specific on the green and the red? I see you have them there. What was the? Yeah,
your current card. Anything green's an improvement. Anything red on this dimension is making it worse. Using that sort of the mental models we already have about what colours mean.
Thank you.
I think it's great that you have suggested that these companies can't be paid to be rated higher or lower. And you did say that there is lots of potential for commercial opportunities, but have you given thought to exactly what those are if this isn't something that they can pay to get a higher ranking?
Yeah, so there's a range of options available to these people. So commercial opportunities would include things like advertising-based models or subscription models. When we talked about the email or SMS reminders, we envisaged that as being something where you could either pay for that or you could agree for the company to use your data to generate revenue in order for them to facilitate reminders.
And then just on the advertising-based models, of course, that wouldn't be for any products which you're actually putting through the comparison website for independent third-party products.
Do we have no more time?